friends, Goddess of Awesome here, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the conservative states, the red states. So I have traveled to 36 states and 58 cities across the nation. I've worked in those. I've traveled to more cities and passed through more states than that, but I have worked in 36 states and 58 cities. Many have been conservative states. Some have been the blue states, but the majority of the states that I would return to have been conservative. Now, I'm not in the gig anymore, right? If you want to reference my final tour, it all happened in February and early March. You know, what are we? We're April 10th right now. So I'm getting myself to the point where my new website will be live here in a minute. I'm working on creating a website for you about emotional release and working with energy and energy release and what I know a lot about, which is hand jobs. So there's a section on my website for satisfying the curiosity of any person who might like to know how to administer an outstanding hand job. Now, I'm not inciting anything. I'm not trying to teach little girls or college girls how to do this. This is for women and men who want to know how to give an amazing hand job to someone they love or know, you know? So it's my site that I'm creating. It's nothing pornographic. It's very educational. You know, I'm wearing clothes the entire time. You know, I'm not trying to create the energy to be extra. No, there's none of that. It's not pornographic. It's how I'm relating to you right now. I'm just speaking to you normally. That's how it is. Except for I'm working on the male body part and I'm sharing the secrets of what I have discovered that works. Finding the person's energy. How do you find them? Each person is so different. How do you find that energy? How do you connect with it? But once you find and connect it, how do you keep that connection by latching on? How do you secure the connection? And then how do you gather the energy? How do you build it and gather and build and gather? And what happens if it plateaus? What do you do then? You know, there's more than that. There's so much, you know, working on uncircumcised as opposed to circumcised. There's a variety of technique there that's different. You know, working with ED. What do you do with the boys who don't get firm all the way? Do we just give up on them? Is that what it is? No, we don't. We don't give up on those boys. They can have their moment if you know what to do. And each technique that I know or have discovered, it's not going to work for every single person, but a combination of some techniques or using a combination of energy and technique. See, it's not just technique of the hand. There's so much energy work that goes into it. So anyways, this is the website I'm creating for you. This is what I've been working on. So, you know, I'm not in the gig right now, you know, but with Backpage going under, with the big sites being seized and unaccessible, it's incredibly interesting right now. We're in a very interesting time. So I want to just get back to the topic, conservative states. You know, 36 states that I have gone to, 58 cities, and I want to just say that my better places, what I would consider a honey hole, all my honey holes are in the conservative states. Why is that? Why is that? That the conservative states are the states who crave persons like myself the most? That the conservative states are the places who support persons like myself the most? The demand is higher there. Much more a great demand in the conservative states than in the liberal states. Trust me. The blue states suck to work in. Maybe not every last one of them, but a lot of them. The conservative states is where it's at. That's where the money is. That's where the demand is. That's where people need us. So why is that? You know, it's interesting right now, all the political jargon going on. All the stuff happening out there in the media. People talking about Backpage going down and cleaning up the world. And, you know, I get it for saving the children, the young ones, the teenagers who might be on the border of, you know, they say they're 18, but are they? Are they 14? Are they doing it on their own? Or do they have somebody helping them? Maybe we'd call that a pimp, or maybe it's a boyfriend, or maybe it's just a friend. I don't know. I don't know any of those answers. But I do know it's not cool for the young ones, right? I wouldn't want that for my kid. I wouldn't want that for anyone young that I love. I wouldn't want that at all. But for the people who are of age, who are making a conscious and deliberate choice, who are functioning on a normal level, whatever normal is, your average level, is that trafficking? If they're independent and they're running their own show? I don't know. I think the word trafficking is being tossed around a little too much. You know, there's a difference in forcing people to do it who don't want to do it, and also people who are in it because they're aware of what they're in and they're doing it by conscious choice, you know, and they're not sharing their money with anybody and they're not tipping anybody out. I mean, what's a strip club? Is that trafficking? Probably trafficking happens in a strip club much more than we care to realize, but because it's a strip club and it's legal. But come on now, if you ever have gone to a strip club, and many of you have, or worked a strip club, you don't get to take all your money home. You don't. You have to tip out the house. You have to tip out the DJ, and you have to tip out the bar. That's how that works. So are dancers being trafficked in the club? They're tipping half their money out to the DJ playing the song, to the bartender pouring the drink, and to the house for paying the rent, you know? I don't know. It's all kind of interestingly woven. A lot of lines bleed together. There's not a lot of clear lines, I don't think, anymore these days. It's very gray. When it comes to trafficking, it's very gray, unfortunately. They're trying to make it black and white, but it's so gray. Anyways, getting back to conservative states. So, in my experience of being a sex worker, and I've been in the gig for 21 years, 3 years as a dancer, and 18 years as a sensual massage therapist. So in my 18 years of being a sensual massage therapist, I have discovered that the conservative states are by far the best states to work in, money-wise. The demand is great, way greater there than it would be anywhere else. And if we weren't needed there, the demand wouldn't be there, you know? So why is that? Why are sex workers needed in conservative states, you know? I think there's a lot of repression. You know, people are repressed and people are suppressed in some of the conservative states. You know, I'm not going to name any states or any cities, and I'm not trying to discredit any person, okay? I really am not. I'm just trying to take a broad idea here. But when you get to some conservative states that are extremely religious, and now they have various religions there, right? It's not just one religion dominates one state. There's a lot of different ideas on theology everywhere you go, you know? But I believe a lot of good girls and good boys, see, good church girls don't want to talk sexy. You know what I mean? They don't want to, you know, they save themselves for marriage, at least they're told to. You know, they try to be as good as possible, and they get with their good boys who do try to be good, but they're boys, you know, and they're wired like a male species of any animal that walks the face of the planet, right? The male species is designed to spread his seed by nature. So, you know, we do have rational minds that makes for rational thinking and rational decision making. So a lot of really good men will abstain, right, from pushing their girl into anything, from having premarital sex, kinda, or even masturbation. You know, a lot of good church boys feel like after they masturbate, they have to repent. Church girls too, you know. When did it become illegal to touch your own body? Or shameful? Why is that shameful to touch your own body and get to know who you are? Somewhere our minds have been discolored from the truth of who we are. We are perfect. If we are made in the image of the Creator, there is nothing imperfect about us. And if all things are God, everything is God, including sex and sexual things and sexual ideas and sexual preferences. It's all God. You know, I understand not wanting to have young girls go out and get pregnant at 12 and 13 and 14 and 15 and 16. I get it, you know. But the messages we put in, that we assert and insert into our young people's minds, I think on some level it fragments their brains and it stunts their personal development, you know. And so what happens in some of these conservative areas where people are extremely religious is that there's some stunted development, right? So a lot of girls don't have orgasms. A lot of chicks don't. Why? Because they're stuck in their head. They can never forget all the things they were told as young girls, you know? That their bodies are imperfect, that they shouldn't show their stuff to anybody, that maybe they don't smell right, that they're dirty if they think this way, that that's dirty if you do that, that you're not that kind of girl because that's dirty. You don't do that, you know? And then they get programmed in that mindset and then they get married, right? And now suddenly it's okay and permissible for them to explore sexually with their lover, with their husband, with their chosen mate, and still yet so many of them, they can't turn off what's inside their brain, you know? It's fragmented. It's never been defragmented and put into order, you know? So I believe that's part of my purpose, is to come out and share and talk about ideas about how we can defragment our brains when it comes to sexual understandings and sexual knowings and sexual balance, you know? Because I think there's a lot of imbalance out there, a lot of sexual imbalance. And it's not, I'm not trying to make that seem bad. It just is, you know? And if we got a little more clear on things, and if we gave ourselves permission to let sexual energy be a celebration and throw out the rules. We don't need to have rules when it comes to sexual celebration with the person you love. You're always allowed to have your sensibilities. You know, your sensibilities are going to be different from the next person's sensibilities, different from the next person's sensibilities, different from my sensibilities. And just because their sensibilities are different and their sensibilities are different and your sensibilities are different and my sensibilities are different, doesn't necessarily mean any of our sensibilities are wrong. It's our truth, our personal truth. And if it's true for you, that's what it is, and that's beautiful. It's okay. It's okay to have your personal truth, you know? What I don't think is okay is when there's so much static in the mind that it clogs your personal truth. It stifles your personal truth. It stifles your development, your personal development, and you can never fully access your personal truths all the way. And see here, I'm going to bring this back. So this is where and how these conservative areas have such a high demand for the sex worker, because so many good girls and good boys have fragmented minds from things that were meant to help them, meant to help keep them safe. And what it does is it stunts their development. And then they get married. And then their lover, or their husband, or their wife, who's usually the husband, maybe they want to explore. Maybe they want to, have special moments. And she, in general, she probably can't mentally go there, because it's wrong in her brain. It's insacred. It's not sacred. It's unclean. It's dirty. It's I think all that is pollution of the mind. And so these good boys married to these good girls, after so long, the good boy finds himself very, frustrated. He can't connect with his wife the way he wants to, the way he hopes to, the way he wishes he could. And he loves her so much, he's not going to push her, Most men that I've spoke to, most clients that have told me their grievances in these conservative states will always tell me, but she's an amazing mother, Like they have all these sad grievances of what they're not getting at home, the cold beds that they sleep in each night, and that they just deal with it being affectionless, being in an affectionless relationship. But she's a good mother, they'll always say. And I'm sure that's so true, but they have to keep telling themselves that's why they stay. They stay because of the kids. They stay because she's a good mom. And they don't want to disrespect that. And everything in them honors that, absolutely honors that. But there's a part of them that must honor themselves. Men absolutely equate touch to love. They absolutely do. And when you remove the touch, when you remove affection from your man's everyday experience of life, he starts to feel unloved. And he'll live with that for a long while. Some will live with it for a long, long, long while. But there will come a breaking point where each guy just reaches a moment where he realizes, dang, he's never going to get any affection from his lover at any time soon or ever again. What's a boy to do? So they ring my phone. Or they ring a sensual massage therapist's phone, or they ring an escort's phone. They ring a sex worker's phone so that they can experience some kind of connection, some kind of physical affection, so they can feel loved, even if it's only temporary, for a brief moment, from someone who they know doesn't love them, but a gifted sex worker can give the affection and let it be so much so that it's true therapy. And that's why these boys, these men, come seeking the sex worker. It's therapy for them. Just like a chiropractor, it's an adjustment. And once he gets his adjustment, he can come home, his brain is more available, right? Because after a man has an orgasm, their brain is fully functioning. It defragments a man's mind to have a sexual release. So then after that happens, well then he's more on point. He's not so distracted. He's able to have better conversations. He wants to be there with the kids and participate. And when he is there with the kids participating, he's fully present. He's not distracted because he's got some kind of energetic static happening in his brain. So I could go on and on and on and on about this topic because it's absolutely relevant. And I've heard this story so many times from so many different people across the board, ranging from 36 different states and 58 different cities. It's an epidemic almost. It's happening everywhere. So the conservative states, I find, are the better states to visit money-wise because the demand is there for all the reasons I just said. Now I'm going to wrap this video up really quick with my little advisory to anybody who's getting I'm not trying to steer you that direction. I'm not trying to turn any sex workers on and say, oh my God, I need to go there. No. I mean, they're great territories, but they're conservative lands. And when you are in a conservative land, I believe the risk is higher than ever. And I'm not just talking about risk of personal safety. I'm talking about risk of arrest, right? I mean, you don't want to be arrested in a conservative state. Trust me, you don't. Most conservative states have private jails. Well, what's a private jail? It's a for-profit jail. A jail that's for-profit. It's private. It's not funded by the state. It's funded by personal investors. It's funded by the people in the community who want to keep the riffraff out of their streets. Totally understandable, totally get it, you know? But these private jails have no desire to release any person for any reason because they're making far too much money off of every single inmate. So your rights to a speedy trial, I don't know. It's open for interpretation. You know, you get caught in a conservative state, you may stay there a long time waiting for your speedy trial or your arraignment. Your very first court date could take a long time. Why? Because on average, private jails make $120 per person per day. Now that's on average, right? There may be some jails that make less, maybe some jails that make more, but they get paid per person per day to keep people there. They have no desire to let you out at all. They're making money off of you. It's not like California. Now I hear we have private jails here now too. I don't know how many we have, but in general, the jails here that are funded by the state, we don't have enough money. We're broke almost. California is still recovering from the massive recession that hit us 10 years ago. We don't have the money to keep petty people and, you know, prostitution charges or sex worker charges. They're kind of on the lower end of the totem pole. They have much bigger fish to fry in California. So you won't be as busy here because it's a blue state. But you also won't get, I don't know, you might get released a little sooner. So conservative states have an amazing demand. I would definitely say any of the honey holes that I have found have been in conservative states. There's a lot of reasons for that. And I just find it absolutely interesting that in the media presence, you know, you have all these red state people talking about what they want to see happen to the sex worker. They want it all, you know, wrapped up and tied up with a neat little bow, and to hell with that. Let's put it to bed. Let's knock it out of the water. Let's get rid of all these big sites. Let's make it impossible for people to meet. Let's you know, you're focusing on the girls here, you know, or the providers. You're focusing on the providers here, but what about all the guys? I guess you call them Johns. What about those sweet boys? who are living in affectionless relationships. See, they live in conservative states and they may vote conservative on some things, but silently you're agreeing to everything I'm saying right now because you live with it and you know it's true. The conservative people, some of them, a lot of them, many of them. So I don't know what to call that. I mean, I could think of a few words, but again, I'm not trying to annoy anybody. Or make anybody have hurt feelings. I'm not trying to point any fingers. I'm just saying, isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting that the conservative areas of our nation seek the sex worker the most, hold the highest demand for us? Yeah, that's been true for a long time. So we'll see what happens with this big deal happening in the current news right now of trying to wipe out the big websites and writing laws. We'll see what happens. I think if you start jailing all the good people who are just seeking affection, don't you have other better things to spend your money on? Aren't there worse people out there to incriminate and fill your jail beds with? What about violent people? What about people who steal and kill and manipulate and do all sorts of treacherous things, you know? Hurting people who are just seeking affection and hurting people who are only offering affection. To me, it seems like you could be spending your money elsewhere. And I get saving the young ones. Absolutely save them. You know, if they're 14 and 15 and 16 and 17 and 12, whatever the age is, and they're out there promoting themselves or being promoted by others, yes, nip that in the bud, you know? But for persons who are of age, I don't know. It's a topic that will probably go on and on and on. I don't know. I mean, it's the oldest profession in the world. So it may not ever go away as much as you try. People will find a way to experience affection. And it probably should be done in a way where people don't lose them, you know, they don't get crucified over it. Because a lot of those people are really good people. You'd be surprised who they are. Yeah. So anyways, that's all I have to say about that. The most busiest zones in the nation are the red states, the conservative states, you know. So just a little tit for tat, a little thought for you to ponder on, you know. I am the Goddess of Awesome. Thanks for being here with me. Bright blessings and be well.